So now what we want to do is build this product grid itself, but we also need to fetch the products from an API. If you want to know how to do the styling for this, I've done the styling in the Tailwind crash course, which is another series on my channel. So you can check that out if you're wanting to know how to do that. So let's go ahead and create this. So what I want to do is create a products grid. So in our components, we want to create a new folder, or actually what I will do is essentially going to copy this and paste it in our components and paste. So let's go into the product grid. And in the products grid, we have a product grid that takes in some data, which is basically the data we fetch from an API. Now, what we should do is we should fetch the data on the page here on the home page. So any home page, because we fetch at the top level and then we pass it in down the tree into the children, so the components, and then that way the product grid is reusable based on the page or whatever the data is that we're using it on. So essentially we have the product grid, and we also have an individual product, which is essentially all of the products that we have on our browser. So the grid is basically handling all of the products, and then the individual product is handling the image, the text that comes back, and also the price. So again, we need to make that component. So let me just copy this and bring that one in as well. So now all we need to do is that error's gone, and then we also need to create the product type, which if I hover over, nothing is being shown right now. We need to create a types folder. So let me go ahead and create that. At the package.json level, let's create a folder called types. So this is for our TypeScript types. So if you follow something like solid principles, interface segregation is quite important. So essentially we want our types or interfaces, wherever it is, separate from everything else. So everything should have a single responsibility. In our types, we have a product.ts. So let me just paste this in, which essentially is the type of the information we're getting from the product. So each product will have an ID, title, price description, category, image, and rating, like so. And then we just render that out. So let me just close some files down. We've done the login page, and we also have the layout page complete. I'm just going to close everything down so we have a simpler view. So now let me save everything. So now if we go back in our products grid itself, and this error should go away now. And if it hasn't gone away, you can basically delete it and then re-import it in, like so. And now the errors have gone away. So essentially now the product grid is complete, but it's in terms of styling, it's essentially a grid. We have some data that this product grid component receives, and then we're mapping over it, providing a key. And we also need to provide a link. So what we will do is we'll create an individual product page to have more information on what we render. But if we go into the individual product component itself, let's go into that one. And again, we need to re-import this product type from the types folder, so it's reusable across the site. And in here, we have a next image, we have a title, and a price, like that. So that is the components complete. So now what we need to do is render this component and then pass in the product grid. So we render this component in the home page. So if you go to the top in page.tsx, in here, we have the home page. So now what we want to do is essentially render the products grid, and then we want to pass in the data, which is equal to a variable that we will create called all products. And now what we want to do is fetch the data. So we've imported that, but there's an error because obviously we've not fetched the data from somewhere. So what I'm going to show you next is how to fetch data in Next.js 14, and that is done using the fetch API on the server side.